Invisible hands, the grandfather clock in the Wellington Mansion's foyer chimed 6 in the morning, its deep resonance echoing through marble halls that Maya Chen knew better than her own reflection. She had been polishing these floors for 3 years, moving through the 20-room estate like a ghost in uniform seen, but never truly noticed, essential but never acknowledged. Maya folded the last of Patricia Wellington's silk scarves, arranging them by color in the walk-in closet that was larger than her childhood bedroom in Chinatown. Through the massive windows, she could see the San Francisco Bay stretching endlessly. A view worth millions that she had memorized during countless hours of cleaning. The irony wasn't lost on her. She knew every inch of this palace, yet she remained invisible to its inhabitants. "Maya, where's my coffee?" Richard Wellington's voice boomed from the breakfast room. The tech industry titan had built Wellington Industries from nothing, creating smart home devices that revolutionized how people lived. Yet he couldn't manage to pour his own caffeine fix. She hurried downstairs, her soft-soled shoes silent on. The imported Italian marble, Derek Wellington, lounged at the breakfast table, scrolling through his phone with practiced indifference. At 28, he was everything his father had groomed him to be: handsome, entitled, and completely assured of his place in the world. His Harvard MBA hung in his office like a trophy, though Maya suspected he'd learn more about business from his trust fund than any classroom. "Dad, the board meeting's at 10, Derek said without looking up. "I've got the quarterly projections ready. We're still ahead of Technova, but they're getting aggressive with their new security line." Patricia swept in, wearing a designer workout outfit that cost more than Maya's monthly salary. Her perfectly styled blonde hair didn't have a strand out of place, despite claiming she'd just returned from yoga. "Derek, darling, don't forget about the charity gala tonight. The Hendersons will be there, and you know how important networking is." Maya set Richard's coffee down precisely where he expected it. The cup handle turned at exactly the right angle. He didn't acknowledge her presence, too absorbed in his financial reports. She had perfected this choreography, anticipating needs before they were voiced, solving problems before they became inconveniences. Maya, Patricia's voice, carried that particular tone reserved for hired help, sweet but dismissive. "I need you to pick up my dress from the boutique today. Make sure Emma's ready for her piano lesson at 4. The only bright spot in Maya's daily routine was Emma Wellington, the family's 8-year-old daughter. Unlike her parents and brother, Emma saw Maya as a person rather than a service. She would sit with Maya in the kitchen, chattering about school and asking questions that revealed a curious mind her family seemed determined to ignore. "Maya's teaching me Mandarin," Emma had announced at dinner once, causing Derek to laugh condescendingly. "It's nice, sweetheart, but focus on French instead." "It's more useful for business," he had replied, not noticing Maya's slight wince. As Maya cleared the breakfast dishes, Derek's phone rang. She overheard fragments of conversation about patent applications and market projections, technical details that fascinated her more than they probably should have. She had always been drawn to how things worked, even as a child, taking apart old radios in her grandmother's apartment. After the family dispersed to their various important activities, Maya retreated to her small room in the servants' quarter. Hidden beneath her mattress was a worn laptop she'd bought secondhand 2 years ago. Every night after finishing her duties, she studied programming tutorials and computer science lectures she'd found online. The irony was delicious. While she cleaned the offices of one of tech's biggest innovators, she was teaching herself to become one. Her phone buzzed with a text from her night school instructor, Maya. "Your algorithm assignment was brilliant. Have you considered applying for our advanced program?" Maya smiled, carefully hiding the laptop before heading back to work. The Wellingtons needed their invisible maid, never suspecting that she was quietly building her own future, one line of code at a time. Code in the shadows. The Wellington household settled into its usual evening rhythm as Maya finished her duties in Derek's home office. She dusted his mahogany desk with practiced efficiency, her eyes inevitably drawn to the scattered papers and prototype sketches he left carelessly exposed. Most people saw only cleaning supplies in Maya's hands, but she possessed something far more valuable and invisible: woman's perfect vantage point into a tech empire's inner workings. Derek had been particularly agitated lately. barking orders at his assistant and slamming doors after heated phone calls with the development team. Maya had overheard enough conversations to understand the problem. Wellington Industries was struggling to launch their next-generation home security system. The prototypes were clunky, the interface confusing, and worst of all, their rival Nova was rumored to be months ahead in development. As she emptied Derek's wastebasket, Maya noticed crumpled sketches of circuit boards and user interface mock-ups. Her pulse quickened. These weren't just any designs. They represented months of Wellington's research and development. Derek's frustrated annotations covered the margins. Too complicated. Users won't understand, and start over scrawled in red ink across promising concepts. Maya carefully smoothed out the papers in her utility room later that night. Her programming knowledge had evolved far beyond basic tutorials. She now understood system architecture, user experience design, and machine learning algorithms. Looking at Wellington's abandoned designs, she could see exactly where they had gone wrong. They were building for engineers, not for families like the one she served daily. "Maya, you're still awake?" Emma's small voice startled her from the doorway. The little girl wore pajamas covered in stars, her hair tousled from sleep. "Bad dream, sweetheart?" Maya quickly folded the papers, but Emma's sharp eyes had already spotted them. "Are those Daddy's work papers?" They look frustrated. Emma possessed an uncanny ability to read emotions, even in discarded sketches. Maya hesitated, then made a decision that would change everything. "Emma, what would make you feel safest at home?" The 8-year-old considered this seriously. "I'd want to know if strangers were coming, but I'd also want it to recognize friends, like when you come back from the grocery store. And it should be nice, not scary like those beeping things at the bank." Emma's innocent observations crystallized Maya's vision. While Wellington's engineers designed complex systems for tech-savvy adults, Maya understood what real families needed: intuitive protection that felt welcoming rather than threatening. She began sketching her own designs, incorporating machine learning that could distinguish between family, friends, and genuine threats. Over the following weeks, Maya's double life intensified. Days belonged to the Wellington family, preparing meals, managing schedules, maintaining their perfect facade. But nights belonged to her creation. She worked in her small room until dawn, writing code that could recognize behavioral patterns. Developing algorithms that learned from daily routines, Emma became her unwitting collaborator. During their Mandarin lessons, Maya would test interface concepts, asking the child to navigate through different menu options. Emma's feedback was invaluable. An 8-year-old couldn't use it intuitively. Busy parents certainly couldn't. "This button should be bigger," Emma would say, or "the voice sounds too robotic. Can you make it friendlier?" Maya incorporated every suggestion, refining her system until it felt less like technology and more like a helpful family member. She programmed it to recognize Emma's voice, to distinguish between Patricia's morning yoga routine and a potential intruder's movements, to understand that Maya's late-night cleaning sessions weren't security threats. The breakthrough came on a Tuesday evening when Maya successfully integrated facial recognition with behavioral analysis. Her system could identify family members not just by appearance, but by their unique patterns: Richard's habit of checking his phone while walking, Derek's tendency to pace during business calls, Patricia's precise morning routine. Maya had created something revolutionary, a security system that understood families instead of merely monitoring them. It was elegant, intuitive, and years ahead of anything Wellington Industries was developing. The woman they dismissed as just the maid had solved their most pressing technical challenge while they slept in beds she had made. As Derek's frustrated phone calls continued and Wellington's stock price fluctuated with each delayed product launch, Maya quietly assembled her prototype. She had the advantage: they lacked intimate knowledge of how real families lived, moved, and felt secure in their homes. Late one night, as Emma helped test the final user interface, the little girl asked, "Maya, why don't you show Daddy your invention? It's so much better than his." Maya smiled, saving her code with hands that no longer trembled with uncertainty. Soon, sweetheart. But first, I need to find the right people to listen. The breakthrough Maya's hands trembled slightly as she adjusted her best blouse in the coffee shop's restroom mirror. The navy fabric was 3 years old and carefully mended. But it was clean and professional, the armor of someone who refused to be underestimated twice. Today marked her 5th investor meeting in 2 months. Each one conducted under the carefully constructed identity of M. Chen, independent developer. The coffee shop buzzed with the familiar energy of Silicon Valley deal-making. Venture capitalists and startup founders occupied every corner table, their conversations a symphony of buzzwords and billion-dollar dreams. Maya had chosen this location deliberately. Neutral ground where her presence wouldn't raise questions about how a domestic worker had developed cutting-edge technology. M. Chen, woman's voice cut through the ambient noise. Maya turned to see Sarah Kim approaching, her confident stride and tailored suit commanding attention even in this room full of power players. As CEO of Technova Wellington Industries' primary competitor, Sarah was either Maya's greatest opportunity or most dangerous gamble. Ms. Kim, thank you for meeting with me. Maya stood, extending her hand with practiced confidence she'd learned. From watching Patricia navigate charity galas, Sarah's handshake was firm, her dark eyes assessing. Your preliminary presentation was intriguing. Home security systems that adapt to family behavioral patterns, it's ambitious. But I have to ask, why approach Technova? Most developers try Wellington first, given their market position. Maya had prepared for this question, crafting an answer that skirted dangerous truths. I believe Technova values innovation over legacy thinking. My system requires a company willing to revolutionize the industry, not just incrementally improve existing products. For the next hour, Maya presented her work with the passion of someone who had lived with these problems daily. She demonstrated how her system learned family routines without invasive monitoring, how it distinguished between threatening and benign activities through behavioral analysis rather than crude motion detection. Traditional security systems treat every unexpected movement as a potential threat, Maya explained, her laptop screen showing elegant code architecture. My system understands that the babysitter arriving early isn't a security breach, it's a family convenience. Sarah leaned forward, genuinely interested. The machine learning applications are sophisticated. Where did you develop this? Which university? Previous employment? Maya's rehearsed biography rolled smoothly off her tongue. Self-taught programmer. Independent contractor, no formal tech industry experience. All technically true, though incomplete. She had learned to present her unconventional background as an asset rather than a liability. Sometimes the best innovations come from outside. Established thinking, Maya continued. I've spent years observing how families actually live, not how engineers assume they live. The demonstration that sealed the deal involved Emma, though Sarah would never know it. Maya had programmed her system to recognize the specific pattern of a child's bedtime routine, the particular cadence of small feet on stairs, the pause at the bathroom, the gentle closing of a bedroom door. When Maya showed how her system could differentiate between a child's midnight bathroom trip and an intruder's movement, Sarah's expression shifted from interest to genuine amazement. This is remarkable work, M. Chen. The behavioral pattern recognition alone represents a significant advancement. Sarah closed her tablet, decision made. Technova would like to offer you a development partnership. It's full funding for prototype completion, plus equity stake in a dedicated subsidiary, Night Guard Technologies. Maya's heart raced, but she maintained. Her composed exterior, what would the timeline look like? 6 months to market-ready prototype, with you as Chief Technology Officer of the subsidiary. We'll provide laboratory space, a development team, and complete creative control. Sarah paused, studying Maya's reaction. This could be life-changing money, M. Chen. That evening, Maya sat in her small room at the Wellington mansion, staring at Technova's contract offer. Through her window, she could see the lights of Silicon Valley stretching toward the horizon. Constellation of ambition and innovation she was finally joining, as a participant rather than an observer. Emma knocked softly on her door. Maya, are you okay? You seem different at dinner. Maya opened the door, pulling the little girl into a gentle hug. I'm fine, sweetheart. Just thinking about the future. Good thinking or worried thinking? Maya smoothed Emma's hair, a gesture that had become natural over 3 years of bedtime routines and scraped knee comfort. Emma, what would you say if I told you I might not always be here to help with your Mandarin lessons? Emma's face scrunched. In concentration, I'd say you must have found something really important to do. But I'd also say you'd still be my friend, right? Maya's eyes filled with tears. She quickly blinked away. Always, sweetheart. No matter what happens, I'll always be your friend. As Emma returned to her room, Maya signed the Technova contract with steady hands. Tomorrow, she would give Patricia Wellington her notice, citing a family emergency that required her to return to China Lai that would protect everyone involved. But tonight, she allowed herself a moment of quiet triumph. The invisible woman was about to become very visible indeed. Though the Wellington family wouldn't discover exactly how visible until it was far too late to matter. Collision course. The emergency board meeting at Wellington Industries carried the weight of desperation. Maya watched from her car in the parking garage, her Night Guard Technologies access badge hidden beneath her coat. 6 months had transformed her from invisible domestic worker to rising tech executive, but today she would finally shed the last vestiges of her former life. Inside the gleaming conference room she had once cleaned, Derek Wellington faced the fight of his professional life. His father's massive heart attack 3 months earlier had thrust him into the CEO position just as Wellington Industries encountered its gravest crisis. Technova's aggressive expansion and their mysterious new security subsidiary had captured major market share, leaving Wellington scrambling to respond. The numbers don't lie, board member Margaret Foster announced, her voice cutting through the tension. We're hemorrhaging market share to companies that seem to emerge from nowhere. This Night Guard Technologies has revolutionized home security. In 6 months, something our R&D department hasn't managed in 3 years. Derek loosened his tie, sweat beading on his forehead despite the air conditioning. The boardroom that had once felt like his birthright now resembled a tribunal. We have several promising projects in development. The new interface designs are nearly complete. Nearly complete isn't market ready, interrupted board chairman William Hayes. Derek, I respected your father's vision, but Wellington Industries needs immediate innovation, not promises. Patricia sat in the gallery section, her usual perfect composure cracking under the weight of potential financial ruin. It woman who had dismissed Maya as mere help now watched her family's empire crumble. Unaware that the solution sat in a parking garage below, waiting for the right moment to reveal herself. There is one option, Margaret Foster continued, sliding a folder across the mahogany table. Technova has approached us about a potential acquisition not of Wellington Industries entirely, but of our infrastructure and distribution networks. Derek's face flushed. Absolutely not. I won't sell to our biggest competitor. It's not a traditional sale, William Hayes explained patiently. They're proposing a merger structure. Wellington Industries would acquire their Night Guard subsidiary, gaining access to revolutionary technology that could restore our market position. The catch is that their terms include specific personnel requirements. The folder contained detailed financial projections, market analysis, and a clause that Derek read aloud with growing confusion. The Chief Technology Officer of Night Guard Technologies must assume the role of Chief Innovation Officer at Wellington Industries with full authority over product development and a 5-year contract. Who is this person? Derek demanded. Why would Technova insist on keeping their CTO in our organization? Margaret Foster's expression was unreadable. According to Sarah Kim, their CTO is someone uniquely qualified to understand Wellington Industries' operational needs. Apparently, this individual has intimate knowledge of how our target demographic actually lives and works. Derek scoffed. Some tech genius thinks they understand our customers better than we do. This is ridiculous. Is it? William Hayes countered. Derek, in 6 months, Night Guard has captured 23% of the premium home security market. Their customer satisfaction ratings are unprecedented. Maybe we should be asking how they achieved what we couldn't. The vote was closer than Derek expected. 7 in favor, 5 opposed. Wellington Industries would acquire Night Guard Technologies. Accepting all personnel terms to save the company his father had built from nothing, Maya received Sarah Kim's text message as the board meeting concluded. It's done. Welcome to Wellington Industries, Chief Innovation Officer Chen. That evening, Maya stood in Emma's bedroom one final time as the family's former maid. The little girl, now 9 and even more perceptive, had sensed change coming for weeks. Leaving, aren't you? Emma asked, her small hand clutching Maya's fingers. In a way, Maya said carefully, but I'm also staying. It's complicated, sweetheart. Adult complicated or math complicated? Maya laughed despite her nervousness. Both. Emma, do you remember when we talked about how sometimes people can surprise you? How someone might be more than they first appear? Emma nodded solemnly. Like in fairy tales, when the beggar turns out to be a princess. Something like that. Maya kissed Emma's forehead, breathing in the familiar scent of children's shampoo and innocence. Just remember that no matter what happens, no matter how surprised grown-ups might get, you and I will always be friends. As Maya prepared for bed in her small room for the last time, she reflected on the incredible journey from invisible servant to corporate executive. Tomorrow, she would walk through Wellington Industries' front doors as an equal, no longer the woman who cleaned their offices, but the woman who would determine their future. Derek's dismissive laughter echoed in her memory. Just the babysitter, just the maid, just the help. Tomorrow, he would discover that the woman he had overlooked possessed the very innovation his company desperately needed. Maya packed her few belongings, leaving behind the uniform that had rendered her invisible. When she walked into Wellington Industries tomorrow, she would be impossible to ignore. The transformation was almost complete. The revelation the Wellington Industries conference room fell into stunned silence as Maya Chen entered wearing her Chief Innovation Officer badge. Derek's coffee cup slipped from his fingers, ceramic shattering against marble in a sound that seemed to echo forever. Good morning, Maya said calmly, setting her laptop on the polished table she had cleaned countless times. I'm Maya Chen, your new Chief Innovation Officer. Derek's face cycled through confusion, recognition, and disbelief. This is impossible. You were, ... your maid, Maya finished quietly. Yes, I was also developing the technology. That's about to save your company. Patricia gasped from the gallery, her perfectly manicured hand covering her mouth. The woman who had treated Maya as invisible furniture now stared at the executive who controlled Wellington's future. The Night Guard system, Derek whispered, pieces falling into place. You created it while working in our house? Maya nodded, pulling up her presentation. Every algorithm was inspired by your family's routines. Emma's bedtime patterns taught the system to recognize safe versus threatening movements. Your mother's yoga schedule helped develop behavioral baseline recognition. Your father's phone habits contributed to the distraction detection protocols. The board members exchanged amazed glances as Maya demonstrated her revolutionary security system, the same technology Derek had desperately tried to develop while she quietly perfected it in the servants' quarters. 3 years of observation, Maya continued, taught me what your engineers missed. Families don't need complex security, they need intelligent protection that understands their lives. Derek struggled to process the reversal. The woman he'd dismissed with condescending remarks had created the innovation that would restore his company's dominance. Why didn't you tell us? Could have developed this together. Maya's expression remained professional, though her eyes held memories of countless small humiliations. Would you have listened to suggestions from just the maid? The truth hung heavy in the air. Derek knew the answer, and his shame was visible to everyone present. 6 months later, Maya's innovations had restored Wellington Industries to market leadership. She maintained her friendship with Emma, who had proudly announced to her classmates that her best friend was now running the company. Derek, surprisingly, had evolved. Humbled by Maya's revelation, he'd learned to value insight over credentials, potential over pedigree. Their working relationship had grown into mutual respect, though Maya had long since outgrown any interest in his approval. Maya, Emma said one evening, as they practiced Mandarin in Maya's new corner office, I always knew you were special. How? Maya asked, genuinely curious. Emma grinned. Special people see everyone else as special too. You always saw me as important, even when I was just a kid. So I knew you had to be important too. Maya smiled, remembering the scared young woman who had scrubbed floors while secretly building dreams. Sometimes the most powerful transformations happen not through dramatic reveals, but through quiet persistence and the courage to remain true to one's vision. The invisible woman had become impossible to overlook, not through revenge, but through the undeniable power of innovation, born from understanding real human needs. In the end, Maya hadn't just saved Wellington Industries. She had revolutionized how they saw potential itself.